So magandang hapon. Thanks for that very nice intro, Deng. And like Deng mentioned, I'm actually a professor here in Salle University. And you know what? Almost every waking day, I see how my millennial students express themselves virtually with hashtags. So very likely right now, you guys are posting what you learned from several TEDx speakers a while ago. You guys are using hashtags. And you know what? In our world full of hashtags, I'm amazed how my students seem to be an expert in expressing themselves with brevity and ingenuity. Short but high impact, short but sweet, and short but creative. And I'm amazed how such powerful few words mirror one's thoughts and emotions on the spot. So just imagine, as a professor in this scenario of world full of hashtags, how it paves as a challenge for me to teach my class and get their attention for a 3 hours master's class every night. And I'm always in search for looking that one word that I would repeatedly mention during my sessions just to make sure that my students would remember what I'm trying to say. And how I wish I could just fast-track hours of lessons into few minutes by using loaded words with just a hashtag. You know, coming into the class, you just write the hashtag, okay, class dismissed. So that's actually my wish. And the students' ability to comprehend what I'm trying to say. So that's my imagination after you guys post and use a lot of hashtags. Because right now, one thing I also recognize in your generation is as soon as you meet your professor on the first day of the semesters, you add them right away on Facebook. So I can see what you guys are doing. And I can see every waking day, once I get my phone, I do see what you guys are up to. And imagine, you know, checking and answering exams using hashtags. I'm a marketing professor, so I do require my students to answer exams with essays and reports. And just imagine the hundred of hours I would save from reading and checking lengthy essays and reports with just a hashtag. So that's a joke, so you guys should laugh. Haha. So kidding aside, allow me to share with you the most often used and misunderstood hashtags articulated by us millennials. I'm in the tail end of the millennial span. And these are also the hashtags that inspire me to live my life every day. The first one, for sure, is something you guys know by heart. YOLO, right? YOLO is, you only live once. A lot of times, we use this term as a license to do irrational things without respect to the implications of the future, right? Right. Yes, YOLO. For some, this may sound crazy, but I have to admit, I'm actually guilty of living the YOLO life for the past years. Actually, just for the past week. Yes! So this is me. I was just a mermaid in Boracay last weekend. I went there, it was my 32nd birthday, and I made my childhood dream come true, to be a mermaid. I enrolled in the Philippine Mermaid Swimming Academy in Boracay. So, YOLO, who cares? I'm 32, but I'm a mermaid, right? So I just celebrated my 32nd birthday, and I'm glad that I was able to fulfill my childhood dream to be a mermaid. But when I'm out of the water, I am no longer a mermaid, by the way. I am back to my human legs. I am actually a teacher. I am a teacher, and I'm back home in my home country, the Philippines, after almost 4 years of living in the Americas, 2 years in D.C. and 2 years in New York City, as a graduate student in Washington, D.C., and I worked in New York, as Deng mentioned a while ago. And I got the chance to live in the concrete jungle where dreams are made of. You guys know Jay-Z, right, and Alicia Keys. And if you're living in a city where there's nothing you cannot do, obviously, YOLO became my default mindset. I worked hard, played harder, shopped till I dropped, met distinct strangers, made new friends, and tried a lot of things as if there's no tomorrow. But it was not luck that brought me there. It took me years to prepare and hone my skills to be ready for the global working environment. It took me years to prepare and reside outside of the comforts of my home country, which is the Philippines, and let go of a promising corporate career here in Asia without any guarantee of a job during a global recession period. And I started from scratch when I left. I just took 2 big luggages with me. I had to bear homesickness from living in a place away from family and friends and missing holidays. A lot of times, I just wish, I can just book a plane ticket back to the Philippines in a heartbeat. I had no choice but to bring myself to an emergency room alone when I can barely lift my head from dizziness. And I had no idea at that time which name and local contact details to put in case of the emergency sheet in a foreign hospital. I had to let go of my own home country assumptions and judgments in a foreign land and ignore the worries I cannot control. I thrive in cold, bitter winter nights alone. It was not fun at all, especially during the time when my apartment heater was busted. And this is the cost of the YOLO life. I faced a lot of uncomfortable consequences in every decision I made to break free. But because I wanted the out-of-the-country experience so bad, I had to swallow the bitter pill that came with it. The time I spent navigating the world with my youthful energy is irreversible. The lessons I learned, they're all priceless. I lived, but I also learned a lot. Next slide. So from YOLO, you only live once, I actually had a different definition when I was in grad school. I would coin it as YOLO, you only learn once. And before I worked in New York, I had a different take on YOLO. So I changed the word live to learn. I was taking my master's in Washington D.C. when I had a break in the academe profession. I became a teaching assistant for undergrad business courses on my second year in grad school. It was a totally new experience for me to craft a lesson plan and face demanding students after working in the corporate world for most of my working years in the 20s. So it's a totally different environment for me. But I took the challenge to teach in a foreign country, to learn a globally relevant subject matter, and get used to a different teacher-student dynamics and culture as I tried to earn a paycheck just to send myself to school. It was a frightening and exhausting experience, but then I learned a lot. And I will forever cherish the lessons inside and outside of the classroom from my diverse students and my boss, rockstar professor, who took the time to mentor me in a totally new environment and amplified my potential whenever I doubted my gift for teaching. So the powerful YOLO learning energy in the university ignited a meaningful parallelism in what seemed to be a random personal occurrence, from fish feeding to teaching. Endowed with a teaching assignment on my second year in school was a surprise progression from my unrelated on-campus job in our science laboratory. I was a fish feeder in my first year before I became a teaching assistant. So fish feeder, ako ay nagpapakain ng isda, naglilinis ng aquarium sa science lab. Because in Georgetown, at that time, cheaper mag-breed ng mga isda versus bumili. Cheaper mag-breed ng isda na papatayin nila sa science lab versus bumili. So that's why we have that big aquarium. And since I need to earn a couple of dollars just to pay for my rent and books, I took that manual job. I was cleaning aquariums and I was feeding fishes. My responsibility as a fish feeder then required me to cultivate an environment where every fish must attain complete development. I loved every minute I was on duty. I braved hurricanes and heat waves just to feed my fish on time, weekdays and weekends. I skipped few parties and delayed some vacation trips just to see my fish regularly. That's true. And I disregarded headaches and muscle pains attacks just to get to work. Baka ito yung reason kung bakit pa ako single. In love ako sa fish, hindi sa tao. Shokay. It was a manual labor work with a lot of heart, far away from the cerebral marketing job I used to do for multinational companies. Fish feeding helped me pay for rent and was a great therapy to unleash my nurturing capabilities. Then, upon graduation, I worked in the city that never sleeps for several years. I welcomed the dynamic rat race in a highly ambitious city. I achieved career milestones and met incredible eye-opener individuals along the way. I embraced the thought that if I can make it in New York City, then I can make it anywhere at the expense of my sanity. I got amused with the bright lights and stimulating skyscrapers. The scenery was addictive yet fleeting. Then, a defining moment happened while I was walking along Madison Avenue one chilly winter night. I chanced upon a big, inviting aquarium that made me pause for a while. I remembered the fish I took care of when I was a fish feeder, and actually, I shed a tear. That night, before I shut my eyes to sleep, the burden of foreignness being away from my motherland and the warm memories from my fish feeding and teaching on-campus stint crept in. So from YOLO, my hashtag then was FOMO, which is fear of missing out. I realized I had been missing out on something I cannot deny. I miss doing the things I love the most. I realized I had been missing out on something that I really want to do long term. I miss exhibiting my nurturing attributes within an ecosystem, unspoiled by human ego, chasing titles and promotions. I realized that my pursuits are insignificant if my journey was not aligned with what I'm passionate about, teaching, feeding in my home country, the Philippines. So I left the US, and I came home with a burning desire to feed others' dreams. I had grand memories living in the two most stimulating first world cities, but my fear of missing out on doing what my heart desires defined where I am right now, in front of you guys, back in the Philippines and teaching at Salle University, where I took my bachelor's degree. So I chose to swim back, so thus the mermaid swimming back. Right? I chose to swim back to the 7,107 islands where I was nurtured. I decided to teach to help pave way for the next generation of our nation to dive into the depths of the ocean and confront a world promoting individual strength and speed to the top as the ultimate metric of achievement. So, my last words would be, as you discover your YOLO and FOMO moments, wherever your ambitions may bring you, remember that you can always come back home. In your city, in your country, and your university, and perhaps consider to teach too and share your ideas, discoveries, and expertise. Have the nerve and stamina to make things happen. Take the courage to change and challenge the template life has paved for you by taking action. A hashtag, a word, a chatter, blog post, they're all useless if there's no behavior change. My challenge to you, my millennial student, is to post online but practice offline. And to post real time but practice all the time. And remember that us, your professors, will always be here for you to listen to your stories, look at your Facebook feeds, you forgot you added us, and discuss ideas in our faculty cubes or virtually reach us via social media. Teaching is our vocation, and we exist for our students who are enrolled in life, inside or outside of the classroom. And I'm Ireene, I'm a teacher, and I'm back home.